Welcome back to Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life. We got a very special conversation for you, especially if you're a female entrepreneur, a woman business owner who is seeking that new norm in the post-COVID pandemic environment. You may be working from home, you may be working from a traditional office, you may be doing hybrid. My co-host Dee Marshall has already said that she's back in a traditional office, so she's working from home today. And Dee, we know that women, whether they're entrepreneurs or not, wear multiple hats. They're often the CEO of the home, and this is the CEO of the office. They're partners to someone. They're caregivers. They're raising children. They're shopping. They're tutoring. They're chauffeuring. They're just doing everything. And then we had the added layer of complication around the pandemic and how that just disrupted businesses, but lives. So I think this is going to be a really important conversation in terms of the reset, and in some cases, the multiple resets, the multiple reinventions that we've all had to go through, but women entrepreneurs in particular have had to go through.
Yeah. No, I think you're right in terms of, the layers and levels that women already, and particularly Black women, Black women are known to wear many hats. In fact, to even struggle with this superwoman syndrome, right? And so you're absolutely right, trying to now find their way back. In fact, Alfred, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, a friend of mine, corporate executive guy, Black man, high level, and he was working from home. He changed jobs, working from home. And he said that he had renegotiated. He said, Dee, I just decided, my wife and I, how I really wanted to live my life. And I wanted to be 100% from home, work from home. And the reason I bring this up as we're talking about women is because, I think sometimes women, I think are hesitant to ask for what we want and what the need is. And I thought that was really interesting that while my friend, he's a chief diversity officer at a smaller firm, a mid-market firm, while he had left one job and renegotiated to be 100% work from home, not hybrid, he didn't want to go into the office, and he's a corporate executive. While on the other hand, Alfred, I have friends over here, girlfriends, colleagues, when they are upset because now they got their return to office notice. So I think, that's also an interesting, I would say, unique difference that women share in asking for exactly what we need. Now that we know we're teacher, right? Parents, women right now they are like literally teachers and having to have 2 and 3 jobs. So they're teacher during the day, right? For the kids who are homeschooling. Well, not homeschooling, school from home, because that's two different things. And then having to do their job after hours. And then I've got CEO friends, to your point, Alfred, you're right, caregiver, parent in the home, having to remodel a whole separate area for parent, having to find a full-time caregiver just so she can get her work done. So yes, this working from home and wearing multiple hats is definitely a thing of the woman.
And the other thing that I think is really important to acknowledge, and again, this is a show about faith and business and finance, and again, that abundant life, is that one of the things that I think we all felt, but women in particular, Black women in particular, felt, is this feeling of not enoughness in some cases. There's time is squeezed, resources were squeezed, your attention, there's even more demand on your attention than ever before. You're trying to take time for self-care, trying to take time for prayer, worship, relationship building with God. And this is a time when the ability to stand on faith and to understand that your source is the source of all and has infinite capacity to help you, because you don't. And I saw the difference between women who had a faith walk and a living relationship with God versus women who either had an inactive relationship with God or women who were disconnected. And it's like when you run out of whatever is in you, if you're not connected to the source of all, how are you going to get replenished? How are you going to get refilled? How are you going to have faith that things will still go well even if you didn't get everything done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the Messiah complex. It's when women, or people in general, but women struggle with this when we're trying to do all and fix all without the power and the strength of God. And so you're absolutely right. I think sometimes, you know, I don't know. I think folks struggle with being present and walking out their faith. I don't think people love God any less
I agree.
based on how they engage. I really don't. I don't think it's that. I just don't think people are consciously aware and present, which is why I love prayer, because prayer keeps you present and in communication with God. And you're only ever going to build a relationship and be able to take out withdrawals or take withdrawals if you have enough deposits in terms of time and
Yes.
relationships. So I love the point you make about women and depending on our faith to get us through.
Well, we have the perfect guest. We've been waiting for her to come on this show for a minute, y'all, to join this conversation. Teri Coaxum is the CEO and owner of Coxson Connects LLC and Coxson Connects Wellness Foundation. So we already got wellness and we got business. She's an economic advisor, a distinguished lecturer, a motivational speaker, an author, life coach, mentor. Talk about multiple hats, D, and needing capacity. You know, but and she's also an expert on some of the certifications for women business owners, things that can help them grow their business, access business. So again, got all of the ingredients for a conversation, and of course, as a woman of God as well. So welcome to the show, our
Thank
good friend,
you.
Teri
Thank you.
Coaxum.
Thank you, Alfred. Thank you, DC Marshall. It is a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm listening to the conversation that's taking place, and just some key words: faith, finance, abundant life. So I'm like, okay. And this is what we're talking about. And so when you talk about the many hats, you have to have a foundation. You know, a house can't be built on without a structure, without a foundation. So I'm looking forward to having that conversation with you about how do we replenish, like, you know, how do we pour back into ourselves, how do we say no, you know, to things that just aren't working for us. And no is a complete answer. We don't need to explain anything after that. So looking forward to that.
You know what, a good place to start is, how do you replenish? You said you know, you're looking forward to the conversation about how we replenish. Let's start with, we are 2 years into a pandemic. And
Yeah.
so what have you been doing to replenish or to maintain, to thrive during the pandemic? Because you're an expert in the space. And so
Right.
we first want to know, what do you do?
Well, the first thing I do is I stand on this, right? I wrote this little guide called Peaceful Pondering. It's a busy woman's guide to inner peace. And this is before COVID, right? And so it's 40 pages long. It's not a big deal. But what happens is we're talking about a lot of it now. I'm praying, I'm reflecting, I'm saying no to things that don't work for me. I'm having a plan, right? I'm giving myself permission to say no. And then I'm giving myself permission for self care. So a lot of times as women, we're doing everything for everybody and we're not doing enough for ourselves. And I had the opportunity to work with Reverend Dr. Susan Johnson Cook on a book, Rhythms of Rest. And I wrote a chapter in it about just that, breathing love into yourself first. So, you know, we're on the plane, they say, put your oxygen mask on first, right? So it's about that. It's about putting my oxygen mask on myself so that I can now pour into my family, pour into my relationships, pour into my business, and quite frankly, pour into my students, because I'm also a professor at Megahertz College. So pouring into my students as well. And that's how I replenish. So there is faith, right? Being free with finances, right? And then there's that abundant life. And how we have that is by making sure that we're pouring into ourselves. And that's how we're replenishing. That's how I'm replenishing. That's how what I'm teaching my daughters to do to replenish as well. Because I have two daughters. My daughter just celebrated her 26th birthday, and I have another one that's celebrating her 32nd on the 28th.
Wow, look at you,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
You know,
thank
the
you.
one beautiful, beautiful. In the less than 1 minute we have less in this segment, because
Yeah.
we're certainly going to come back and delve deeper, but we wanted the first question to be, what do you do? What's the one thing that you've done differently as a result of COVID? You got 30 seconds.
So one of the things that I've done differently, I have a prayer call 7 days a week, from 5 to 5:30 in the morning with the Daughters of Zion.
Got it.
Pouring into that before I start my day.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back. Stay right there. This is Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life.